Welcome back. Thunderbolts is the latest installment in the ever-growing, never-ending MCU universe. This movie is directed by Jake Schreier, and it is starring Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, David Harbour, and Lewis Pullman. Is this movie a much-needed breath of life into the kind of dying MCU universe, or is it just kind of another flop, below-average movie that we've really come to expect of late? Let's find out. Thunderbolts doesn't waste much time getting started, which I liked. Right off the bat, you're kind of picking up with Elena, Florence Pugh's character. She's struggling with some issues. She's just an ordinary, normal girl assassin, and she's having some, boredom. She's having some mental health problems in her life, and she's feeling really unfulfilled. So you kind of see the character Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays is getting everybody together. She's assembling all of these kind of anti-hero hit people she's established that are essentially the budget Captain America, Taskmaster, Florence Pugh's Yelena, and a couple other characters, including Ghost, all from different movies. And you kind of see how these people all meet. And that's really where the movie gets started and where you kind of start learning what's going on. Very quickly, all of the characters learn they were put there to essentially assassinate each other. And they start learning that there's something going on. They realize who the bad guy is, and they're trying to get out alive, not kill each other, and then escape this facility that is basically an incinerator before they all die. Also, they meet a normal, unassuming guy who seemingly has no superpowers, but he was somehow trapped in this facility. None other than Bob. Bob will become a factor later on in this review. I will give a spoiler alert before I get into anything further, but there's not really much that you probably haven't seen if you have gone online already. This movie is really about these characters' relationship and what they're going through in their life. You start learning that they all have very checkered pasts. They're all kind of going through stuff. None of them are really happy. They're not fulfilled. They're feeling very inadequate. They're constantly being compared to other, better superheroes, the beloved Avengers, the former Avengers, and everything like that going on. So none of these characters are happy. And that's really what this movie does a good job with. It takes a stand on mental health and kind of things that anyone can relate to. And I actually like that. I actually think Marvel did a good job with that in this movie. A strength of this movie was the casting and just the entourage of characters that they put together. The movie is definitely primarily carried by Sebastian Stan and Florence Pugh. David Harbour as Red Guardian also does a great job, but it's really centered around their performances. I think the humor finally worked well in this movie, meaning it was not overkill. It was not done incessantly. It was not done ad nauseum. And I thought they did a really good balance with it. They didn't try to make everything funny. They didn't try to do it all the time. They didn't kill the action and the drama you're supposed to feel in certain scenes by just some stupid joke. That was actually something I really noticed with this movie in particular, and I liked it. I thought it worked a lot better. It felt more serious. It felt more dire. And I think particularly the final act, I thought that really worked well because they leaned into it and they let you feel the drama and the emotions and the danger, and they didn't try to cover it up with humor. Historically, Marvel movies really don't do that, and I think they've been really unbalanced. I've mentioned that in some older reviews, Captain America, Brave New World, but this movie did a good job with that, and it was really great to see that, finally. Spoiler warning, I'm going to get into some spoilers for the last act of the movie and who kind of one of the other main characters, anti-hero / potential villain is. So again, spoiler alert, if you want to go into this movie not knowing this, click off now. If you don't care, if you've already seen it, you're good. So Bob, I mentioned him earlier, turns out to be the most overpowered, crazy, duality-based hero Marvel character ever. He's the Sentry. I'm not a diehard comic person. I know of the Sentry. I don't know much about him. He was apparently created to just be a crazy amalgamation of a lot of different superpowers, basically like Superman with some other stuff thrown in there, telekinesis, weird mind reading, stuff that he can do and kind of go inside people's memories and experiences with them. And he has some mental health stuff going on. And the movie does not try to hide that. The Sentry has an alter ego called the Void, and you see him at the end of the movie, and he turns all black, and it's basically Robert, the Sentry. It's his darker self. It's his id, if you will, in the psychological sense. And it's a character that is just feels no love, hates everything. It thinks that, he's going to just be alone forever. And it starts taking over people and trapping them in this weird, dark world type of reality. And that's kind of the way the movie climaxes. Florence Pugh, Yelena, has to step into this dark nightmare land and basically find the real Bob, find the good version of Bob who's trapped in there, and essentially try to wake him up and get him to fight or take back control of his body from the void and actually be who he is. Bob the Sentry, who's really not a bad guy, but he is extremely powerful. And there is an awesome fight scene where he completely effortlessly dismantles the entire Thunderbolts team without cracking a sweat or any type of effort whatsoever. So you really see that he's on an entirely other level. Again, if you've gone on the internet anywhere, you can already see all of the comparisons people are making between the Sentry, Superman, and Homelander from Amazon Prime series The Boys, who's essentially a less powerful, similar version of Superman. And pretty much everyone is saying that it's Sentry, and Sentry may be Superman, but no one else is really on that level. I don't know. I don't really have a dog in that fight, but it's a very big ongoing debate of who is the strongest comic book character ever. I don't know, but dude's crazy strong. I like the last sequence of the movie. I like how they are essentially in this nightmare world. They all team up. They're telling Bob, like, hey, you're not alone. In a scene that was actually done pretty well. And I think you kind of feel the emotions in it. You kind of feel the weight of everything. Essentially, they get out. Bob loses his whole memory. It happens apparently every time he comes back down, and he doesn't even know what's going on. But essentially, no one dies. Everybody comes back, and that's it. So the movie ends essentially saying, hey, these guys are the new Avengers. And you've probably already seen that with their whole marketing campaign that they're doing, the asterisk, and saying they're the new Avengers. And there's a mid-credit scene and an end-credit scene to this. And it takes a step in a good direction, I think, showing how the Fantastic Four alternate universe plot is going to maybe tie in how those guys are going to come to Earth. And again, there's a lot of possibilities. I can kind of see what Kevin Feige is trying to do, and this is a step in the right direction. It was refreshing to see. I think from everything that's happened since the Infinity Saga ended, it was great. The MCU has really been struggling, and it's been rare that there's been a really good, solid movie. Really rare when there's a couple of them in a row. So seeing Thunderbolts really kind of be a step in the right direction, and the fact that Marvel is maybe trying to get back to its roots, focus a little bit more on quality. Yes, they're going to keep churning out movies. It's never going to stop. But I feel good about it. I actually feel optimistic about what they're doing. I feel really good about the Fantastic Four. I think this one's going to be good. I'm very curious to see how they're going to tie in things like Doctor Doom, how they're going to tie in the multiverse type of stuff, the Avengers versus the new Avengers and how they're clashing. And it's pretty cool. So I would really recommend this movie. You don't really need to know anything going in. If you're a fan of Marvel movies, if you want to give it a shot, it's definitely worth seeing. I thought it was pretty cool in theaters. There's some cool effects, and the normal Marvel action is pretty solid. But this one was good. I would definitely recommend go seeing it. That's going to do it for this review. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.